I feel like Half-Life Alyx killed the VR industry. Well, it made VR an industry worth acknowledging in the first place, to be fair. Without it, VR would still be in its infant stage, but now that it's been out for some time, everything else beside it has become obsolete. Well, maybe not obsolete, it's a bit of a strong word for it, sure, but just by comparison, it's no longer the same. I rarely play VR. I do love the medium and I'm excited for it, sure, but I cannot be bothered to swing about my room even once every 2 weeks lately. And I found myself thinking, was it worth buying a VR kit after all? Do I regret it? I mean, not really. It's an experience. That's why I got it, not to rack up my gamer score. But why don't I do it as much then? And I wasn't sure why for a while, until one day I was browsing my installed VR games and went into my last played game, Zero Caliber. I read some reviews trying to decide if I want to get up and play it. I didn't. It's fine, but it's not great. So I looked at what else I've got installed. Raw Data was a game I got in some VR bundle and never got to playing it, but my little brother did, and he said it's okay, fairly fun. So I went onto its store page, trying to figure out if it's worth my time. And one review said it was a first wave VR game. And it sort of clicked. Half-Life Alyx, HLA from now on, had launched a new generation for VR titles. And with it, VR took a massive leap forward, but what about everything that did a jump forward with it? I guess all of that is the first wave now. HLA made the industry's potential so much greater, but the sad current reality is, just by comparison, many VR games that were out there now felt sort of primitive. Alright, but what do I mean by first wave VR game? Well, these are mostly games that used VR as a novelty, as in, wow, look at me, I'm making coffee, in VR, isn't this goofy? Or, wow, you added one VR-specific mechanic to the game and gave me 3D hands. These games are also often very short. For example, Batman Arkham VR. It's mixed on Steam, and mostly because of its lack of content. It has barely enough reason to exist at all. These games are closer to a demo version, or an alpha or a beta. They've polished like 3 aspects of the game, but instead of that being built upon further, that's it, that's the whole game. Just a neat little idea or a fun activity, something that would make up 20% of a game normally. And if the game does have more content, it's often things that you can do in regular old games anyway. And I'd go as far as to say it feels a little artificially extended even. There are exceptions to this rule, of course, games that define their niche or corner of the industry. Things like
Super hot.
where minimalism is part of the game, so it doesn't feel clunky or old, it feels simple, as if by design, or most likely by design. As a matter of fact, it actually works better in VR than on a flat screen. You just bob and weave like you're Neo dodging bullets. And it works. It works a lot better in VR. Pavlov is a game that's essentially CS but for VR. Everyone knows it as VR CS at this point, and CS never had to be pretty, nor did it ever have to push the industry's boundaries. It just had to be fun, let the community go nuts with modding, let the players take the wheel. And that's what Pavlov is doing, as well as being actively supported by the devs themselves. I mean, the game has like 7 different zombie modes. Trouble in Terrorist
This
Town,
man is a bitch and we should all kick
You
him.
might tell your RDN me first.
Deathmatch.
I'm just as bad as you, mate.
5v5 bomb defuse,
Hey, can I get a drop?
jailbreak,
Yeah, big blast.
though I've never seen it work properly,
Can't just RDM like that, my guy.
World War II King of the Hill,
No. Fucking hell.
and all of them are pretty solid. This is the essential VR shooter with a good community. VRchat isn't really a game, it's a social experience. Think Second Life at worst and Gmod at best. It has the weirdest internet goblins that have no interest for the outside world and are waiting for player one-like tech to come along and disconnect from reality entirely. And looking at what's going on in the world with COVID right now, you can't really blame them. As a matter of fact, if you look at the world and society in the 21st century, maybe it has nothing to do with an illness going around. But that's a different topic for a different day. And on the other side, there's some
Dank memers.
Yo, that head up there is really scary.
Yo, that's kind of sus.
Like it's so.
Monkey.
There seems to be a spy among us.
You can't play Among Us, there's too much people.
Hot dog, become Among Us.
Nathan, why don't we just go to a different side?
Oh, he's so dead. Uh-oh.
Beatsaber is VR's Just Dance, Guitar Hero, DDR. It makes sense. You always needed extra controllers for those, and VR can be considered that. And the medium adds a lot of immersiveness on top of it. I'm sure there's a few more games that I failed to mention that are here to stay and have valid reasons to be a solid VR title in their own right. But the majority that's left, why bother? HLA established what works well in VR and what doesn't. A lot of the older titles were unsure at that point, so they hadn't chosen the best options for some things. Like, hands just go through things in some games, the environment isn't interactable or detailed, and VR is the place where it's justified to dick about with things on a table for 10 minutes straight. But many games just leave those tables empty. In HLA, it makes sense why you can launch things to your hands so you don't have to duck down with your old man knees for every paperclip you wish to pick up. They gave you the gravity gloves for that. And some games use a similar summon mechanic, but why would a simple mortal be able to telekinetically summon a water ball from 2 feet away? It sure is a better mechanic than literally having to pick up everything all the time, but it doesn't make as much sense as far as the world building goes. The locomotion depends on the person. Some get VR sick easily, and some don't. So HLA added all the options. A few older titles only use some. But all these are general VR issues. They plague development challenges for all the games. But even things some games focus on specifically aren't a great fit for VR. Not all things make sense for VR. You see, all these mechanics we've seen before. They just transfer them to VR. And sure, in most cases, a mechanic is enhanced by simply being in VR. Reloading has become somewhat of a fun little minigame that you can either succeed in or fail at.
I'm about to dual wield this bitch.
Good luck hitting something.
I don't need luck. Because I'm not trying to hit anything.
I'm not trying to hit anything, I just want to look cool. Jesus Christ.
Oh, they're both empty. How do I...
You gotta cock him!
Fuck me. Oh, I pulled out the death knife. No! Through the wall!
And that's already a lot more depth than just pressing R. Inventory management has become more immersive, I suppose, although it's not exactly the most action-packed part of the game, so I prefer the simplicity and ease of old-school drag and drop, rather than having to reach for my pockets if I want my Snickers bar. You can shoot guys on a flat screen, you can have a wave-based game on a flat screen, you can experience a good story on a flat screen, but HLA was fundamentally created with VR in mind. Simply think of any VR game and ask yourself, Will it still work on a flat screen? If it's Half-Life, no, it wouldn't. All the mechanics were made for VR, while stuff like Zero Caliber, it would just be a shitty shooter. As a matter of fact, look how many games just made a port for VR. That's like a PC game coming to a console. Are you really excited for that? If you already have a PC, the fact that a game supports VR won't make you run out and get a VR kit. You can still play the game anyway. Skyrim, as an example, is a miserable experience on VR, without modding it to a point where it might as well be a sequel with the amount of modifications to the game's engine. The controls are dog shit, running is lame, you can't really touch much of anything really. You're honestly better off just running it on a PS3. A lot of these games start to be games about X in VR, rather than a VR game about X.
VR is not going to be a success at all if people just are taking existing content and putting it into a VR space. If you took, one of the first things we do is we got Half-Life 2 and Team Fortress running in VR, and it was like, it was kind of a novelty, but we wouldn't ever expect anybody to justify, customers or developers. That was purely a development milestone, but there was absolutely nothing compelling about it. Same way, like, nobody's going to buy a VR system so they can watch movies. Instead, you have to sort of hope, you aspire, you're optimistic that, the unique characteristics of VR systems will cause you to discover a bunch of stuff that just isn't even possible on any of the existing platforms. Some people going out and saying, oh, there'll be millions of these, and we're like, wow, I don't think so, because I can't point to a single piece of content that would cause millions of people to, justify changing their home computing at all, right?
Clearly not all game studios think this way. And they're not necessarily bad games, to be fair. They're just not great. They are something to do for a couple hours at best, and if that's 90% of the game market for VR, it's kinda hard to sell VR to someone, no? Nobody wants to spend $200 to $1,000 on the VR kit itself just to play indie titles. And right now, only a few games use the medium as it should be used. It's a tough sell, really. Would you buy a gaming PC if all you had was indie titles? Why build a $2,000 rig if a laptop you found on Craigslist will do the work just fine? Well, says the idiot that did exactly that.
I have a brain injury. My brain is injured.
Let's compare HLA in a few of my VR games. Sure, it's not a fair comparison, but my point is, do you really want to play this?
I used to be on drugs.
Hello there, can you get me number 1, please? I need number 1. Thank you very much.
Imagine having beef with me. I'm just a little jokester, a silly little guy.
You don't have beef with a silly little guy? For sure.
Or would you rather play this? What VR needs right now is a big blockbuster game, something that everyone would be excited for. And HLA is like an Avenger movie, and something like, let's say, Boneworks is a David Lynch film.
Eraserhead is my most spiritual film.
What will elaborate on that?
No, I won't.
Sure, it's for some, and some will get more out of it, but VR needs to be mainstream to start making niches. Otherwise it will stay a niche for people that want niche games. A lot of VR titles know what they are doing, and they do it well. But HLA did so much, so well, that it's just a tough fight to fight. It's not entirely fair to compare an indie game to an industry titan made by Valve, who studied VR for years. But when Half-Life 1 came out, did anyone really care about Gex?
Well, you guys, today's the day. I'm finally gonna play Gex.
We are in a weird place in VR's history right now. We have finally looked at what we can really do, but only one game has done it so far. This is probably what it felt like when Half-Life 1 came out back in 1998. A game that made the entire market look like GameStop Wii shovelware game basket. All we can really do is wait until another big company with some balls comes along and pushes the boundaries even further. Medal of Honor tried, and we all know how that ended. And it most definitely put off some developers from taking on such a challenge. There aren't many devs in the VR industry just yet, so it makes sense that it's slow right now. Valve are simply demigods, so it's not exactly a fair game for the rest of us mortals. So is it worth finally getting into VR? I'm not exactly sure, to be frank. I think we need a game or two more to solidify VR as a platform. Sure, Halo sold Xbox as a brand, but if that was the only game on it, would you buy a whole system?
I am smoking a brisket and some ribs. A brisket on the big guy, then some ribs, pork ribs on the green egg. So I'm looking forward to meat fibers. You know, the thing about smoking meat is that we're now looking at and reporting on our business as two different segments. One for our family of apps, one for our work on future platforms. And as part of this, it is time for us to adopt.
Do you like having privacy? Who am I kidding? Do you miss having privacy? I have concerns regarding the recent actions of Facebook, or rather Meta from now on, I guess. They are advancing the standalone VR market a lot and quickly. Usually that would be a good thing, but I don't think so with this case. They pretty much have a monopoly on standalones right now. Quest 1 and 2 are brilliant pieces of tech, that's for sure. But Facebook
Mark, give me the Zuck.
is a big and ugly shadow for them. Let me give you my point of view on this. Facebook loves data, and every company does. That's the new normal. However, when I give my data to Spotify, I get some good song recommendations that I otherwise wouldn't have found. To me, that's a fair trade. my info of my music tastes for more music that's in my taste. When Steam takes my data, I'm fine with it. I firmly believe Valve to be a soulless corporation that doesn't really care for me individually. However, they care about the video game and VR industry, so our beliefs align. And if my data means they keep doing what they do, that's fine. No big loss, no real gain. But Facebook. Facebook is a rotten apple. I have no interest in trading my data for ads for shit I don't want. I'm paying with my data for ads to be pushed in my face. Often really shitty ads as well. That's a bad trade in my eyes, and I don't stand for what they stand like with Valve. They know how poorly the social media affects people, but that doesn't make the profit go up, so why give a fuck, am I right?
I believe Facebook's products harm children, stoke division, and weaken our democracy. The company's leadership knows how to make Facebook and Instagram safer, but won't make the necessary changes because they have put their astronomical profits before people.
I've never had a Facebook account, and I've gotten by so far. I've recently deleted Instagram, I use Telegram instead of WhatsApp for at least one of my group chats. I do my best to avoid them, because they keep pushing things in a way I can't respect. Now, back to VR. They were pressuring Oculus kit owners into creating or using an existing Facebook account for their stores. Even though someone like me got the VR kit before that was ever a conversation. They own Oculus. They have broken promises made by the Oculus leaders before the acquisition. They require you to use a Facebook account for a piece of tech. Meaning, I don't own the VR kit, I get to use it if I have a Facebook account. And you might say, well, many pieces of tech require accounts. Yeah, but none of them should. Facebook is just especially unapologetic about it. So a company like that, having nearly a monopoly on wireless standalone VR, is sketchy. They can push it where they wish, because there isn't much competition, and the sad part is, wireless standalone VR kits are a brilliant thing. They are lighter than PC counterparts, you don't need a ridiculous rig for it, and you can pretty much play it anywhere. It's the most affordable entry to VR, plus Quest 2 is compatible with PCs. It's a sad time when the biggest innovator is Facebook. I genuinely hope other companies step up against them. At the very least, PC VR has a chance for a bright future yet. Also, I'm fucking pissed about the San Andreas thing. Mark, you massive
Hey, homie, are you coming? Yeah, just gotta find something to wear.